You know, MMA just has this funny little way of sometimes being absolutely gut-wrenching. Before yesterday, I would have told you the saddest moment I'd ever experienced in life was watching future Gohan get killed by the androids. But no, yesterday takes the cake. Yesterday takes the cake, and the sad thing about it is, it went how I was very afraid it was going to go. Because going into the fight, to me it was clear Max Holloway is capable of beating Ilia Topuria. Max Holloway has the style to do so, but he had to be perfect. What Max Holloway is so elite at, the thing that is just sets him apart from everybody else, a lot of people would say that's his chin. I don't think that's quite it. You know, of course, Max Holloway does have an amazing chin, but the real reason we had never seen him get knocked out before, the real reason we hadn't seen him officially get dropped, according to the UFC, is because he is so good at rolling with punches, moving with your strikes, staying on his bike, not getting stuck in the pocket. That is what really sets Max Holloway apart. And, you know, you look at Ilia Topuria's fight against Volkanovski. Volk was doing a very good job just jabbing and moving on the outside, avoiding the pocket. Because the last thing you want to do with Ilia Topuria is stay in the pocket and box with this guy. He's the best boxer in the UFC. Nobody's better. And no matter what Max Holloway would have told you prior to yesterday, he knew this. I mean, he knew there's a reason why he denied Ilia's request to throw down in the middle of the first 10 seconds. And that is because he knew where his advantages lied in this matchup. He knew he needed to stay out of the pocket. He needed to keep this fight at his range. And he cannot just trade punches with Ilia. That's a death sentence. It just is. You go back and you look at his fight with Justin Gaethje. Gaethje, who is known as the heaviest hitter at 155, he landed on Max Holloway quite a few times, but almost every single shot he landed, Max was, again, moving away with the punch as it landed. The one time he got dropped, it's because he was standing still in the pocket. He wasn't moving, he was completely stationary, and therefore, he ate 100% of the brunt from that shot. Against Ilia Topuria, he needed to avoid that at all costs. And during the first two rounds, he did a very good job at this. He was throwing a lot of teeps, a lot of jabs, and every time Ilia was stepping in with punches, Max was moving away from them. Max was just doing a good job keeping the fight at his range. And again, something I said a lot in the build-up to this fight was there was a weird narrative going around that Max actually didn't have the reach advantage because they both had a 69-inch wingspan. But your wingspan, it's not irrelevant, but your height is so much more important to your distance than your reach is. Max, being 5'11", had more range between him and Ilia Topuria because, again, he's not only using his punches. Just by taking a single step back, he creates a lot more range than Ilia Topuria does taking a step forward. Max's entire body is way longer than Ilia's. Therefore, he has more distance. And that is why sequences like this were happening, where Ilia is trying to step in with punches, Max evades them beautifully, and then steps in and lands his own shots. You know, Max was honestly fighting a really good fight. It seemed like he had learned from a lot of the mistakes that Volkanovski made against Ilia. Every single time Ilia cut off Max and got him up against the fence, Max would, he would tuck his chin, he had both hands up, and as soon as he was able to, he would try to circle away. He knew you cannot stay there with Ilia. But, even with all this being said, I do still think that, due to Max's style, there were some limitations in a matchup against Ilia that he just couldn't overcome. And there were also, I think, some game plan errors, some of which being Max only threw one outside calf kick. He threw it one time, and it landed, but again, only once the entire fight. Ilia Topuria, I keep saying this over and over again, has never defended an outside calf kick well because he stands like a boxer. A lot of weight on that front leg. It's bladed. Every single time somebody has tried to kick him in the calf, it has worked. The problem is he knocks everybody out very, very quickly, so they don't really have an opportunity to take advantage of it. But Max Holloway should have tried. Now, I get it, it's scary because Ilia can step in and crack you as soon as you throw a kick, but look, there are ways to hide your calf kicks. Ilia was the one landing the really hard calf kicks, and he was doing it off of Max Holloway's punches. As soon as Max would jab, Ilia would just throw the calf kick at the exact same time. And look, frankly, I understand there's a lot of danger with Ilia Topuria, but I think Max Holloway, I think anybody fighting Ilia, you got to take what you can get, and I think the calf kick is there if you set it up right. But in terms of the limitations that Max had, we talked about it in the Volkanovski matchup where, there were a few moments that Volk was stuffing Ilia's boxing by going all the way in and clinching with him. But Max, he just wasn't capable of it. Ilia Topuria is, I think, the better wrestler than Max Holloway. I think he is slightly better on the ground, and Max just really didn't have the luxury of being able to step in and hug Ilia as soon as he entered into range. Of course, Ilia's background is Greco-Roman wrestling. He specializes in the clinch. Now, someone like Volkanovski, who at times was ragdolling Islam Makhachev in the clinch, he can step in and contend with Ilia in that area. Max Holloway just couldn't. But, with that being said, I did think it was very interesting that a lot of people were of the mind that Ilia was going to submit Max Holloway. I don't know where the fuck they were getting that from. I mean, I'll be honest. Of course, Ilia Topuria is extremely skilled on the ground. We know that. But why do you think he was going to sub Max Holloway? Because of the fucking Zalal fight where Ilia kept trying to submit him but was unable to do so? I mean, the Bryce Mitchell fight was impressive, but, you can't get away from the fact that he was beating the fuck out of Bryce Mitchell on the feet first before the submission attempt came. Again, no one's saying Ilia isn't extremely skilled on the ground, but, Max Holloway, when's the last time we've seen him really grapple fucked? You'd have to go back really early in his career to see any example of that. So look, with all of this being said, Max, he was able to defend the grappling from Ilia. He was able to get back to his feet. He was doing a good job avoiding the pocket, staying on his bike, landing really good shots himself. He had some really good knee stomps that seemed to be really affecting Ilia, but at the end of the day, Ilia Topuria is a knockout artist. The truth is, he's not really concerned about winning rounds. He's not trying to outpoint you. He's just waiting for his opportunity to land a big shot because he knows he can hurt you. And eventually that came. And again, it came from the fact that Max, in that moment, he wasn't moving. He wasn't on his bike. He did not roll with the punch. He ate this shot full force. You kind of see his eyes roll back into his head a little bit. He was wobbled, but he was still moving. He tried to evade the pocket from Ilia right after that moment, but he was dazed, he was wobbled, and he ended up just standing right in front of Ilia, and he got hit with a shot that was so clean. Again, a lot of people that they'll talk about Ilia's power. The truth is, I think that's secondary to what makes Ilia such a good knockout artist. It all comes down to the accuracy. This shot knocked out Max Holloway not because of the power, but because of how cleanly it landed right on the chin. Max wasn't moving. He wasn't rolling with it. It completely snapped his head the other way. And look, man, it's human anatomy. You get hit with a shot this clean, you're getting knocked out. You get hit with a shot this clean, you're getting knocked out. And you get hit with a shot this clean, no matter how good your chin is, you're going to get knocked out from it. And look, the thing that I really hope this fight shows people is that the fight with Volkanovski was not a fluke. Man, I took so much ridicule because I was honest with the fact that, look, I don't think that fight had anything to do with the Islam Makhachev fight 4 months prior. And people called me crazy. They were like, how can you say that? What are you talking about? Getting knocked out makes you easier to knock out again. And it's like, no, Volkanovski would have not survived this shot regardless of the Islam KO. Well, then they would tell you, no, actually, it's because Volk was, he was very tentative and nervous because of the Islam KO. First of all, you don't know that. You're kind of just making a random guess. Second of all, how about he was tentative because Ilia Topuria is the best boxer in the UFC. Ilia Topuria is so accurate and mixed with the amount of power he has. All he needs is one clean shot to knock you out. And Volkanovski was just simply outclassed in that area. Maybe that's why he was tentative. Would you have preferred Volkanovski trying to step in and land a bunch of right hands? Would that have been better for him? I don't think so. I think, look, if you're going to beat Ilia Topuria, you cannot box with this guy. You just can't do it. You have to stay away from him. And look, here's the sad thing, right? Who can stop him? I would say somebody like Yair Rodriguez on the feet should match up against Ilia Topuria really, really well. The kind of guy who's ridiculously fast, tall, long, can stay away, can spam kicks. Here's the problem, though. Ilia's just going to grapple fuck Yair. That's the problem. You need somebody who can avoid the takedowns, avoid the grappling, but also avoid the boxing. And I mean, man, I don't know who can do that in the featherweight division. And look, again, I think Max Holloway was very capable of winning this fight, but he needed to be perfect. He was, honest to God, executing the game plan really well. He was winning the fight. He was staying away. He was landing long shots, but it was just too much to ask him to be perfect over 5 rounds. It was just too much. At some point, Ilia is going to find you, and unless you can just completely avoid the boxing, you're going to lose. And Max Holloway, he couldn't do that.